Welcome to a podcast capturing the antics of two geeks who talk about video game culture and influence, both old and new, all through chaotic banter and tangential tangents that make no sense. My name is Mask. A little Oahu. This is my pal Red.
The goggles do nothing.
And together we make the Reddmasq Poddcast.
This is episode 10. Welcome to the Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth special. We planned ahead to talk about the latest entry in the Yakuza franchise because we both adore what's going on in this new game. Red has a great breakdown ready. Hopefully you'll be up to speed with the game and Easter eggs therein, because be warned, there will be spoilers.
If you want to do like a whole thing about like how Infinite Wealth is going, because like there's a whole lot of shit you got going on there.
Oh yeah, I'm still only in chapter 2.
Oh my
Actually,
god!
no, I'm in chapter. No, I'm in chapter 3.
Oh, okay, yeah. I was gonna say you're in 2 towns, and it's only the second chapter of the game. No, third chapter.
It is now the third. I'm now in the third chapter where I have Kiryu in my party.
All right.
He looks like an old man.
I mean, they did the whole flipping gray hair thing really nicely. He's got that experience on him.
Yeah, it's also just like a disguise for him at this point. It's like, because he's supposed to be dead, but as he explains, he still has the people who are helping him hide need him to do stuff for them from time to time, which is why he's out and about still, just with the very heavy disguise on.
Basically, the hair is part of the disguise then.
Yeah. But the way Infinite Wealth starts off is it starts off like 3 years after the previous game. Everything's going fine. I'm not going to spoil what's happening, but it's like the goal, the plan from the previous game is still going on.
Yakuza, Like a Dragon Gaiden, and Infinite Wealth. Is that like the timeline there?
Gaiden, I think. Well, I don't know if I have not played I've only played 7 and 8. I've not played anything else.
Okay.
So I would not be able to tell you if Gaiden is canon or not.
Gotcha.
But I can tell you that the plan that was in motion from the previous Like a Dragon game, which I'm not going to spoil. It has to do with you saw some of it in the game where they were like Ichiban Kasuga is working at Hello Work to handle something that was a plan from the previous game. So that's where it takes off, and we see him going about his day, and then a year goes by, and in that year, some literal VTuber drama channel does a bullshit expose, like a tabloid, on him being this awful piece of shit based off of incomplete information they were grabbing. Because like what happens is he hires this ex-Yakuza member.
Right, because that's part of his job, right? He's hiring ex-Yakuza through this firm.
Yeah, to help them get out of the bad shit and into going straight. Yeah, but because of the 5-year ex-Yakuza clause, they can't. So, but he has them basically using their skills for white hat stuff. Like, you know how you have your hackers, your white hat, your black hat, your gray hat hackers?
Yep.
He puts this one guy to testing people's security systems for a firm. Like people hire this firm to test their security system, and he has this man go with them to do that by practicing shoplifting from them. And,
right, so testing physical security, that actually is a thing in a lot of places.
Yeah,
but like,
and it's white hat shit. Like, it's all above the board. It's like they're getting hired to do that so they can test it. And because of this drama VTuber being an ignoramus, they just assume we hired him to do stuff for us, and then added their own flair because they're a drama VTuber who is out for views and money and popularity. They get 5 million hits. It's like, fuck you, I can do whatever I want. And it was
YouTubers that start with the letter K tend to do. I'm not going to name anyone.
Look, there's a lot of... Oh, God.
There's a lot
of... There's a lot... Yeah, there's a lot of people... Well, even just in general, like, that's the kind of thing that's happening these days, is people doing these call-outs and exposés.
Yeah, and it's interesting that the Yakuza series keeps in tune to that. Like, it has that modern flair to it. That you don't see with like a lot of other games.
They stay horrendously relevant, and it's actually kind of scary. Kasuga's doing this ex-Yakuza stuff, because people are trying to go straight. And this VTuber drama channel, it's built millions of hits, and they're so influential that like the police and politicians follow them and like are at their whim. They are dramatic. They do shit not for they clearly do this because it gets them a ton of views, and they do poor full exposés, but it's like it's close enough that people can just believe whatever the hell they say. And that's just something I'm so used to seeing on shit like Twitter in the circles I run in, where it's like there was an animator that gave up and left the whole thing behind because he was constantly getting harassed for this animation that people were saying was cringe because he liked girls, and it got so bad that he just said fuck it, I'm out. And yeah,
And this is in the game, right?
This is not in the game. This is real life.
Gotcha.
This is why I'm talking. This is why I'm saying it's so relevant. It's because I'm seeing this kind of shit happen where there's so many. This is such a stupid thing, but
it's been happening for years. People need to do their due diligence when researching and bringing these topics to light. The game itself, like, they talk about, like, anyone being a whistleblower. Yeah, the whole dialogue gets into the nitty-gritty about what this whole thing is.
Yeah.
Which is surprising and provoking.
And they literally call them, like, oh, so they're like tabloids. You're like, yeah. They're like tabloids in that...
What's old is new again.
Time is a flat circle. We will forever repeat ourselves because... I don't know. There's a lot of things to go on there. But the term that is so stupid is fucking cancel culture, because it's the way people love to use it is not how it actually works, because the people who are at most risk of being canceled are the vulnerable populations, not some white guy being racist, you know?
Right.
So it's like people who are vulnerable to it, and it can be easily abused by people who are not they'll just make stuff up and run with it, or like try and frame it as awful, and then people will just go along with it because it's like, oh, that sounds wrong, so I'll go along with it even if it's not. It's just, there's a lot. The problem here is I have a lot of experience looking at this, seeing people like get like harassed for the dumbest shit imaginable, and having to start from the ground, starting from the ground up to even explain the start of it is impossible almost.
The way the whole thing just kind of like tumbleweeds into something bigger as well as it goes along is an interesting kind of concept to the mob mentality that happens.
And it's also just like also touching on how much people want to just be punitive, even if it doesn't make much sense to do that.
Right.
They just want to have their pitchforks ready to go. I don't know. There's a lot to talk about on that, but it hits close to home. It's like my worst nightmare to see that shit happen. And the thing that so that's like the kickoff of the plot, basically, where it's like shit goes south. The ex-Yakuza suddenly have to they have to stay Yakuza because there's nowhere else to go now. Because these people because these shitty bullshit drama VTubers are basically abusing their power to do whatever the fuck they want and pretend like, oh, I'm just protecting people, while they just make things 1,000 times worse.
So you, on the straight and narrow, end up being in this controversy, and you lose your job over it, if I remember.
Yeah, everyone loses their jobs basically because of this one shithead.
So every Yakuza member that's been hired under what's his name? I'm very forgetful.
Ichiban Kasuga.
So everyone that was hired under Ichiban gets laid off. Is that correct?
Fired, more like, yes.
Fired, yeah. Harsh.
Yeah, it's just because that's like a kickstart of the plot, because that means the Yakuza are having to get back into it, and the Yakuza stays strong, and it's shitty.
Right.
This is what happened last game. And it's just just the fact that it was so so relevant and something I'm aware of just hurt. It was the most, I can't wait for us to eventually find out who the VTuber actually is, and we wind up decking them in the face because they're like some generic asshole. Because that's the most cathartic thing.
The fact that they're hiding behind anonymity. Even the game mentions this. It's just like, they're using like a generic VTuber software, like stuff you would see like on
And a
Twitch
voice
right
changer.
now, like people who are using like VC Face. There are
And a
great
voice
and
changer,
legitimate
too.
reasons, and a voice changer at that too. Okay.
Yeah,
There
they're
are
like,
great
it's
and legit reasons to use this type of stuff, but this is being used for, call outs.
again, because anyone can be a whistleblower. It's simultaneously great, but also a mess. Because
Indeed.
it's like us being a whistleblower was a big deal in the previous game. It let us get our goals accomplished. And then now it's like it's happening in like by people who don't know what they're doing or like have ulterior motives and they just run with it.
Right.
And it's that's the kind of issue with the call outs. It's just people who don't know or have ulterior or like just bullshitting. And it leads to these giant messes of it's just a mess. That's all it is. But seeing that happen really gave me the hope that we have a catharsis where we find out who that was. Because I have an idea of who gave the footage of us doing this shit because of the angle of the video we saw and how when we said goodbye to our coworkers, one of them was very awkward and just ran off. So, and he was in that position, and he was in the position of the fucking video. So I'm like already hoping that comes to a head. But after that, after you get all that stupid the worst cancellation known to man that was not even fair, you start continuing on with the story. You go see the Yakuza building that you were in before. You fight your way through it again to see who the current head is, and then you get more information about how things are currently going.
So you get your first taste of combat, like fighting back through the building you used to work at. So the Yakuza.
Well, that's it's not the building you worked at. It was a dungeon you've been through before, but now it's repopulated and has new Yakuza people, and you're having to see because like there's people there now, and you have to go and see what's up.
Right.
And you fight through it like the last time you went through the dungeon, and it's a fun time. It's like it is literally your first dungeon in the game. And it's really fun because it's like it's just your basic ass dungeon crawler, you know.
I'm familiar with the combat of like the traditional Yakuza games over the RPG stuff, so I'm getting my first taste through you, Red. But like, when you call it dungeons now, is there a particular reason that they're called that? Because you're pretty much just going like through a building or something. Like, my only experience with that is like maybe you're doing something in GTA, but like you're just beating someone up through that, like you're just doing a bake heist or something. Or I'm playing Ghostwire Tokyo and like really weird shit is happening around me while I'm going through this building, and it's not really a building because it's weighing a lot on Japanese folklore, but that's getting way off track there. What makes this a dungeon and not just another hallway? I guess.
What it is that you can't like there's limited save points. You have to there's fights that you go like there's no random battles. You just run and then there's a triggered fight and you fight them and then you move forward. It's like it's a linear kind of thing where you have a concise space that's not just the overworld and you run around it. It's kind of you explore, make sure you grab all the secrets and you have required fights and you are starved of saving and healing for the most part.
Okay. RPG stuff, yeah.
Basic RPG stuff. Just think of an RPG dungeon, what it has, and yeah, there you go. You go. You have it.
I'm good now.
Yeah. So that's your first dungeon, and then you get more story. You get sent off, you're told to go to Hawaii for something, and you go with it because it's like, it's important to you. And also, but that leads you to go to Hawaii. You take the flight there, it's been paid for. So you go to Hawaii, you meet this guy in a wheelchair, which the previous game you had one of the main characters was like your mafia brother who was permanently in a wheelchair because of something he went through as a baby.
Right.
So you were basically the person who watched over him and took him wherever he needed to go. And as a result, good old Ichiban Kasuga, brain empty, heart of gold. He is not ableist. He just sees people in wheelchairs as other people, and he doesn't care.
Right.
So it's like
he has a job helping people, and like that still shows and shines through.
Yeah, and because he has a heart of gold, he doesn't really care. He's a bit of a bonehead because he'll say some misogynistic shit because he's just a dumbass. He's like, "Oh, that was bad. Oh, I get it now. No, I'm sorry, I didn't mean it. I was in jail for multiple years, and I didn't have a chance to fully get used to." After that, so he's just a big.
By the way, this is like a side point, but it's so thoughtful how the game does like character stats and descriptions for those, because like when you start the game, you are literally at like the rank of dumbass, and then you become
Oh
a
yeah.
knucklehead as you level up, and then
Oh,
there are higher.
well, these are
level titles for you.
personalities.
These are
Yeah,
personalities. Okay.
these are your personality traits. So it's like in Persona, you have those personality traits that also have their own titles until you rank up, and it's like boom, now you're this.
Yeah, well,
Same thing
yeah.
goes for this game. You have 10 levels for each of your 6 personality stats, and at level 1, you're just like it is just the most awful things being said. Like your intellect is level 1. You are a dumbass. You are unfeeling. Just shit like that. And as it slowly ranks up, it's just
God.
really funny. It's just really funny stuff because it's just like I know I ended the previous game off at max 10 and everything, but yeah,
the
and
Yakuza's got the flavor when it comes to that, and that's something I like about it too. I brought you way off track of that because you were talking about like how your whole identity is misogynistic at some point, but it's just because you didn't know better, because you something about jail.
It's not his whole identity. It's just at one point he's like he's dating a person he knows, and he like makes the dumbass decision to propose to marry her after the first date.
Right, yeah.
And he winds up saying some stuff to try and like convince her, like, I'm going to look after you. You won't have to work. You deserve to have some rest. Basically, like the general, like, these are all good ideas at heart, but he says them in such very tactless way. He's just very tactless.
Not very tactful. Very tactful.
Not very tactful. He's just a dumbass again, which is just a funny thing, you know? He's a great guy. He's just a giant bozo.
One of the cool things that I ended up seeing when you like shared with me was like the whole gang reuniting. Like, what is that about?
Oh yeah, your party members from the previous game.
Yeah.
Just the 4 main ones. Like there's other ones that joined, but they were too busy like running their respective gangs, so they weren't able to come in and join up with you guys to drink and do stuff.
Right.
But like, yeah, like your party members. There was the optional party member is not there at the moment because I think she was sent off to handle some stuff, so she's just not around. I'm hoping that she'll pop up in Hawaii again. Just the most funny things imaginable. You basically get through after you end the first chapter. You gain and lose party members a lot in the first chapters because like you're slowly getting yourself acclimated to what the plot and setting is going to be and all that. It's just there was a really funny part where and some of the early chapters where you get like you have to deal with some bastard cops, as in like the bastard of the bastard cops. Where
we're talking ACAB here.
Yeah, we're talking like this absolute. Maybe like even if you're not all cops, definitely this cop. Definitely this cop is a bad guy because he's super racist towards the Japanese, and then like he takes advantage of the fact that you have nothing to your name to basically pin every cold case on you. Okay. Like a giant, like basically there's a bunch of cold cases like, oh, this person was murdered by somebody. We don't know who did it, but we're just going to say you did it and you can't do shit about it, you Japanese cunt. And it's like,
cool.
And then, and eventually
racism. You just jerk cops. This is a very video gamey trope right here, just having a very jerk cop. But it's in a new context. It's not just like, oh, the cops are just trying to beat you up in a 2D brawler sort of thing. No, this is just like, the cops think you're a fucking jackass and don't have any facts on you. They're just enforcing without any right or wrong.
Is even like telling directly to your face, no one's going to believe you, so I'm just going to out my whole plan. Like, I'm going to get a promotion from this. Imagine he's like a step away from just calling you a slur. That's the kind of cop this is.
Fantastic.
And so you eventually just like, because you're a hot-blooded hero, you eventually are just like headbutt the guy in the face as he's walking you to the door, and you break out and you get this little tiny little run from the police action, which I did not fail. I managed to do it properly, but you're like getting chased the whole time, and like some stuff happens, like, oh, they got a patrol car coming for you, and they stop and like get out and start chasing you. Oh, you have to take this turn so you don't get caught by the cops on the other way, and then you get saved by Kiryu because he's in this game.
Kiryu.
Yeah, Kiryu is in this game. He's an advertised person, so that's not really a spoiler. But oh god, I gotta talk about the combat.
This episode does not have a sponsor. We just want to bring people in to kind of take a look at the show, see what we have going on. If they like us, support us. Go to coffee.com/mask31 and check out our page, and feel free to consider donating. You also have to talk about Nugget, which you see very early in the game.
Because Nugget was important in the previous game as your company mascot. He's still in this game, laying eggs for you if you talk to him enough times, and I got 2 eggs from him, and it was just like, hell yeah, Nugget, you're still my boy.
Also the bowling champ.
Also the bowling champ? What?
Yeah, Yakuza 0, you have a bowling team, and you can recruit Nugget to the team. Oh my
god. Oh, wait, no. That's right, because that chicken in this game is a reference to that chicken.
Yeah, that's what I was saying too.
And
that's my limited knowledge of Yakuza coming in there.
And since this chicken is still because in this game she's called Omelet.
Yeah.
This chicken's called Omelet, and because she's the company mascot, you of course can hire a lot of weird shit to be your employees at the company. Like you get to hire a giant Roomba if you so choose. Which is also a boss fight in a sub story, which is where you, I think, unlock the ability. You can hire a kid for some reason. Don't ask questions. I don't want to get in trouble with the law with child. Well, depending on what state you're in, child labor is now legal.
What about Japan? What are Japan's laws on child labor?
I have no idea about. But
okay,
so that's that mini game. But the combat. Oh my god, the combat. They've introduced.
I just said they turned it into Xenoblade, but that's just my take on it.
Kind of. So you have movement now, because in the previous game, it was kind of similar to, I guess the game I would compare it to is like Chrono Trigger, where like positioning matters, but you have no control over it, right?
Right.
So you don't have control over your characters. You don't have control over the other characters. You're just in a position, and they're in a position. They move around, and if you time stuff right, you can hit multiple enemies with moves. In this game, if you're near a weapon, you can pick it up and attack them with it. But in this current iteration of the RPG battle system, you can move around a little bit in this little circle, like it's Quest 64. So you have the ability to move around a little bit in your turn, and that can let you have access. Like, oh, I want to go get up next to this guy for a proximity bonus damage, or I want to angle myself so that when I knock this guy away, he gets knocked into other guys and takes them out. Or I knock them into my allies so that they can do a follow-up attack, or I can knock them into a wall for extra damage. It's just, there's a whole bunch of stuff you can do with that.
Scenario stuff. Like, I was thinking, like, it also hits on, like, RTS-type tactics with, like, Advanced Wars or Fire Emblem.
Right. And you also have, like, area attacks. Like, the area attacks existed as well in the previous game, but you didn't have, control as much. So you just had to rely on it. That's like Chrono Trigger, where you do spin slash and it hits an area around the enemy. So if there's any other enemies there, they take damage too.
Exactly.
That system is in this game as well with other stuff. So it's like you have an attack that goes in a straight line and stops at the enemy. If you run into other enemies along the way, they'll get bowled over. Just the fact that you're allowed to move around, and they added like, oh, now your allies can do follow-up attacks, because you could technically do follow-up attacks in the previous game, but like it was very strict in how you could do it. And it was basically just like if an enemy fell down next to them, they would just like kick them in the face and then they would be done. And this, they actually have like follow-ups, and like you can juggle them around.
Right.
There's also like, if you knock an enemy down, you can have someone else can just rush in real fast to do a guaranteed crit on the ground.
Mm-hmm. You also have like magic attacks that aren't really that. They're like your character skills. Like I remember
that's the previous game too.
Like a megaphone. Yeah.
Yeah, like that's the previous game as well. A lot of Kasuga's hero moves are buffed by his personality. So like as you level up in kindness, his healing ability gets stronger and affects a wider area. Stuff like that. But yeah, your magic attacks are more or less just you doing some goofy shit with your current job. Like something that what's his name? Namba gets in both games is that he has a fire breath where he drinks 80 proof liquor, pulls out a lighter, and breathes fire with it. It's literally calls it 80 proof. It's like Namba breathes 80 proof fire. It's like cool. And then he also he can throw birdseed to call a bunch of crows to attack an area around an enemy, like the spin slash.
It's so creative how they like make this whole world around it, and they kind of shoehorn it into itself because like Ichiban has this whole like psychological, like,
imagination.
hype it up, the sort of thing of, like, his imagination taking over the world, and it's just like everything
Yeah,
is an RPG. Look at those
yeah.
slimes over there. We're gonna teach them some manners.
And his friends mostly go along with it because it's like, well, it's worked so far, and he's a great guy, so I don't really care anymore. This is just fun for us.
I
Like, I'll
mean,
let him have. You have
it's
fun with that,
charming.
Ichiban. Yeah, it's very charming. He's a Dragon Quest nerd. In the previous
Love
game, he
it.
even taught like he gets like his boss basically uses Dragon Quest to help him along. Like, oh, so if you do good enough, you can level up. Then, huh? It's a shit like that. And so that's just his whole worldview is that he's a giant fucking nerd for Dragon Quest and video games, and that's why all these RPG elements exist. And it's not like it's like the enemies go along with it. It feels like too because they really do transform and get like the abilities that would appear on that. One of the enemy types has this drone attack where he
Ooh.
calls in a bunch of flying drones, like tiny drones that you would commercially use to attack you. It's just very creative and funny, and you haven't even seen
Yeah.
like the job system yet. Because the
Oh, I
job system
haven't?
I've had, yeah, you haven't. There is a whole job system with skills you can unlock for your entire character or
Oh,
just for
wow.
that job. It's pretty great, actually. Um,
It not only embraces the whole, like, nerd kind of archetype that it's built around, like, just being a Sega game. It's just like, as well, just RGG just nails, like, the feel of it, like, when it needs to be sad, when it needs to be happy, or when it needs to be absolutely batshit crazy, as Yakuza tends
oh
to be
yeah,
with, like, its side games and things.
yeah. They really know how to make it all work. That's like the best part about it all. It's like
Hmm.
'cause all the sub story stuff is often like hilariously bonkers. But like when you get to the actual plot and it's like, oh, that's actually making me cry now.
Like, there is
It's
actual, like, weight to this stuff, yeah, when it needs to.
like
And then you
yeah,
have,
the
like,
action.
things like Sujimon.
Oh yeah, that's the sub game fuckery going
Yeah.
on there. That's yeah. It's the way they talk about how you lost all your Pokedex data is pretty great. It's like it's an app and it doesn't have cloud saving, and Ichiban deleted it off his phone, so we lost all the data and we have to go get it again.
Whoops.
This time with two regional dexes, one for Japan and one for Hawaii.
Hawaii. Yeah. I was hoping that you'd talk a little bit more about, like, how Sujumon's like Pokemon but people, and then you beat the
Well,
shit
I
out of
haven't had a
Professor Oak.
chance to.
God
Oh
dang it.
yeah. I have not had a chance to actually get into the Sujimon training tournament stuff yet.
Ah, okay, something for later then.
Yeah, something for when I get to that point, yes.
Okay.
And I did I did the puzzle shogi using a guide because I'm already awful at chess. I don't need to be awful at shogi as well.
I mean, the difference between Shogi and chess is, like, some of the pieces, the board is 9x9 instead of 8x8, so it's different.
It's not, yeah,
And,
shogi's
yeah.
9x9 and the pieces are different technically because you have and
I like
but
the
a bit
version of Shogi that, like, uses pictures for the features because I'm terrible at reading kanji and
yeah.
kata and
Instead we have like little letters for each of them, so it's like okay, the
Yeah.
king is the symbol of a crown.
Also, it's the biggest
it's
piece. I can get that.
yeah, it's just a big old. I'm already bad at chess. Being shogi is just another layer of obfuscation for me to not understand, unfortunately. But I can use a guide, and eventually when I do the challenge shogi, I'll probably just use a guide there as well. When I cheated at shogi before, I used a chess bot, and I played the computer's moves so that and I would have them tell me what the best move to go forward was, and then I would do the bot's move, and then whatever the computer did, I would put into the bot, and then go back and forth like that. Very high win rate till the very end of challenge shogi when you're supposed to win with like 3 pieces. You're supposed to win against a full board with only 3 pieces, and it's in that you just use a guide for because it's like figure out what the AI is going to do all the time and just abuse that.
Yeah. So, like, the mini games themselves are pretty zany, but, like, the game is still down to earth. Even when you're, like, going from, like, Japan to Hawaii, like, your money actually gets converted over, is what you were showing me.
Oh yeah, it gets converted over in the not applicable anymore. 100 yen equals $1. So what it
it's
is
not
now,
applicable unless you are the Japanese economy and want that to be the case.
yeah, if only, because it's 150 yen for $1 right now.
Yeah, it's
And
kind of crappy. But yeah.
I'm familiar with 100 yen for $1 because of Roller Coaster Tycoon having all these different currency options. And as such, to make it work, they just had them all use like very basic stuff like, like if they put in euros, it'd be $1 equals €1, which is definitely not the case.
No.
So it's stuff like with Roller Coaster Tycoon, I can at least understand like they just had a bunch of options they wanted to throw in just to make it comfortable, and they went with the most easy conversion rate possible because otherwise it's going to be a pain in the ass to work with, huh?
Right, yeah. Most people just like use their local currency when you're like buying things in general, but like I know about like how discrepancy affects this conversion rate because of like how console sales happen, because like game stores end up like selling a lot of Japanese consoles because it's just cheaper to import and sell those instead of the American ones. Why are everything so freaking expensive?
Why is everything
Video
got to
games,
cost money?
I know, right? Money is the
Why is
ultimate
that?
realism. They also have some stores in the game that are based on
Oh
real
yeah,
world locations. Also, they have some real world sponsors too, like Uber Eats.
the fucking loading screen in Japan is it just has Uber Eats in the background. It's fucking
Yeah.
hilarious.
The
I
food
took a
delivery
selfie.
minigame, I guess, like struck a note with these guys. So
Yeah,
I
I
wonder if
guess
that came
so.
back. It probably did.
Well, there is a food delivery mini game, as you saw, as
Yeah.
you. It was like something that you have access to eventually. I don't have access to it just yet,
Darn.
but I
I
can
was
see
hoping
it.
to
I know
get
it's
some
coming.
impressions, but yeah, I
I know it's
remember you
coming.
were when you played Like a Dragon with me, like what, 3 years ago. You did show me that the food minigame, or I watched it
Oh
on YouTube.
wait,
I think you were there.
wait. It was not in the previous game though.
It was the
That's
first
the
one.
thing. It was in the first Yakuza.
No, it was in a. I'm gonna look it up. I'm gonna look it up.
You look this up because it's not in the previous Like a Dragon. That's for sure. For a second, I thought you were I thought you were talking about the Street Fighter Hado Pizza.
Oh god, yeah, the fact that like that's a thing. Every like flipping street beat 'em up type game has that though. That's the thing.
It's good content. It's simple. It's funny. It's fun.
Crazy
And
delivery.
yeah, crazy delivery is what it's called in this game. It's and that's I think this is the first game to have it. I know I saw it in like a trailer once.
I
Where
swear
he's
to
like,
God, I've seen this like 2 or 3 years ago. I don't know where.
but I do like that they call it crazy delivery because it's a crazy taxi.
Oh my God, they are throwing back to that again. Holy fucking shit! How dare
As
them?
they
I
should. They
love
have
them.
all of these fucking games that they should call into question. Like, it's fucking crazy taxi, crazy delivery.
There's
I'm
another just mode where you're just running around the city. I think it wasn't Like a Dragon.
Oh, I think I know what you're talking about. I think
Which
you're
one?
talking about the can quest or something like that. The can mini game from the previous game.
I just want to know what it is. Steer the car. Yeah, you were going on a cart. Yeah.
That is the can mini game where you're collecting recyclable cans
Oh, I don't know why I conflated that with food delivery.
It's because you're kind of doing the same thing. It's a lot of it's very Pac-Man-esque, that mini game.
Yeah.
There's a lot of mechanics that go through, and you're supposed to like, and part of it is that you have to like ram your opponents to steal their cans. That is a whole ass game for sure.
Yeah.
I did beat that one. I beat the final difficulty as well.
It just looks fun. Like
It
it
was
looks fun.
yeah. It's like literally the first mini game you unlock even in the game in the story.
Yeah.
Well, unless you want to go to like the arcades, in which case you can do those early too.
Oh yeah, talk about what games we have at the arcade this time.
Oh boy, we got Sega Bass Fishing.
Yeah, you caught something, and I watched you do it.
I beat the first area, and then I was attempting the second area, and I wasn't able to fully grasp how everything worked. And I was like, I got to move on with the story. I need to leave. They have Virtua Fighter 3 this time.
Can you please play it? Please play me in it. I have 4 Evo on PS2, and I haven't played it in ages. I'm big on 3D fighters right now. Oh,
we
good.
we can do that after this.
All right, I love that. But yeah, bass fishing, Virtua Fighter. You've got your typical crane game.
Oh yeah, the UFO catcher.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's also there's one other. What's that game we were like, what the hell is this game? What do you mean 2-player, 3-player, and 4-player setup? What was the game? I forgot what it was called. But the way it's set up is if you do multiplayer with it, like local multiplayer, the way it's set up is it's like a virtual on machine kind of thing where you each get your own machine and then fight each other on it through it.
Yeah, it does a PS1 emulator, and then you could just go into Spike Out. It was Spike Out.
Spike Out, yeah. Because each person gets their own screen, so it becomes a split screen game, and it's hilarious to look at. But it's like
that's probably the best way to handle it, honestly, like a link cable style thing of yesteryear.
Yeah, I think my favorite mini game, just because it's so easy and it's fun for me, is fucking darts.
Yeah,
because I take my Wii Switch Pro controller. And I use it like it's a fight stick where I have it down and I'm controlling the stick with my whole hand rather than just my thumb so I can keep it steady. And it's like I haven't missed the bowl yet.
So it's like a flick motion, right?
It's not a flick motion. You aim it,
Mm-hmm.
you aim the moving reticle because it every time you do a throw it changes where it rests, and then it also moves around like your hand's shaking, so you have to counteract that to keep it stable. And then you have a meter on the left side that's going up and down. You have to hit as close to the center as possible to make it as accurate as possible.
That sounds a lot better than the one they did in the Final Fantasy VII remake.
Yeah, but it's it's got a whole bunch of modes where it's you can do your basic first to get to this number wins without going over, but you can choose what number you want to go for, because the basic is 301, but you can also do 501, 701, and 901. And then you also have just score attack, where you just have to compete with each other's score, and you have to choose how you want it to be scored. Where it's I want it to be so the closer you are to the middle, the more points you get, or something like that.
Yeah, you have some variety with the modes in the game, which is very helpful to kind of change it to the way you want to play it.
Yeah, and then the best part is you can play with your friends, which raises their relationship with you, because this game is a JRPG. You have relationships with your party members.
Nice.
You gotta raise your bond, man.
Yeah, and there's also the dating mini games too.
Oh god, I just unlocked the dating mini game.
Oh god.
I got done with the tutorial for it, which was really funny because you get the tutorial character is actually this old hired hobo that's basically just meant to teach you how this shit works. And I fucking destroyed that shit, because it's you have to guess, you have to figure out what kind of person they are.
Right.
And then you have to tailor your profile for them. The fucking app has microtransactions where you spend your hard-earned cash from fighting and doing mini games to make yourself stronger in that and have more access to better stuff so you can better get everything. It's just really fucking hilarious, actually. And you have a cute QuickTime events for typing messages, where you have a string of buttons you have to hit in a row to make your message. And typically the longer and better it is, the harder the event is. But it's you might as well do it.
Yeah, I mean, at least they made a fun little game out of it. That is a cool idea, because I fail at typing really short messages all the time, Parnuts.
Yeah, Parnuts.
Yes.
But I'm at the point in the game where a bunch of side stories are opening up, so I can just start doing those as well, which is very useful because I need the levels and the items they would give. One of the side stories is just you get mistaken as a waiter for this guy. He finds out you're not the guy he's looking for, but he's can you help me just this once, though? Because you look like you're really good at this. It's I don't have any experience. That doesn't matter. It's about your face. Your face looks like you're good at this. And it's really hilarious. And you have to memorize a bunch of stuff. You memorize what the menu looks like, what each item is. Mm-hmm. And I did perfectly on it. I had to... And you have to take 3 orders, and they all fuck around with it, where it's oh, this person can't make up their mind on what they want, and then they eventually just yeah, give me what I said first, and they don't even repeat it. So it's fuck, you have to talk to them again to see what they said first.
Gotcha.
This one person's just I want 1 of this and 1 of this. Actually, make it 2 of this. No, make it 3 of this. And then one guy is just hey, what about, does this look good? What's in this? It's oh, it's this and this. Oh, I don't like those. Just give me this instead then. And then that's the end of it. And it's that guy's the easiest. And then you have to remember what each food item looks like. And because the first thing is like you have to pick the right item. That is what he says. And then he says something that wasn't on the menu. So you have to do rule of elimination where you have 2 items that you know are on the menu so you can tell which is the thing that wasn't on the menu. And then you have to remember the guy's name.
Yeah.
Out of nowhere, you have to remember who the chef's name was. It's like, ah, shit.
I'm not gonna lie, that one lost me like halfway through.
It's a very like sometimes you just have memory games as sub stories and it's really funny.
Yeah.
But at least the guy's name is like really distinct, so it's kind of hard to forget his name.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like he says his name, I was like, that's a name? It's certainly a string of syllables, but whatever.
Name like a Microsoft executive.
Indeed.
Yeah, there's another couple of things I saw here. What is this, like, Aloha Links?
The social media app.
Yeah, what is that?
So, there is social media. And that's like a major way you're supposed to raise your personality, by the way. Every time you make a friend or a best friend, you gain personality points. And the way you gain friends is typically you say aloha to them when you see them on the streets by hitting the Y button.
The aloha button.
I found out there was a hello button because you press it to do the treasure hunting where you see a yellow circle, you go over to it, hit Y and get a random item. Mm-hmm. Doing that made it clear that that's the hello button. And I thought it was just a neat little thing that you could do with your party members and they would react or whatever. And then I find out that's how you get a lot of people to friend you on this silly ass social media app. But there's also a lot of them also have special stipulations because you can befriend a bunch of animals on the social media app. Mm-hmm. But the way you do that is you feed them items that they like. And you can get typically there's a bunch of items you're allowed to choose from, or you can spend some cash on items that are guaranteed to be a good choice. Because it's just like, oh, you want to buy cat food, dog food, or bird food? You can just do that to make friends with them.
I would be on Twitter a lot more if I could just be friends with my cat. This is something that I would do 100%.
Hell yeah. Befriend with a random... I'm befriending a random chicken, a random dog. It's real fun.
Yes, very good.
And then you can also... Sometimes they get in trouble with thugs and assholes. So you can raise your friendship by interfering with that and saving them.
Nice.
Because, you are the hot-blooded hero. You are Kunio. I mean Kasuga.
Well,
am I wrong
there's some parallels to old games, like I was talking about, some of the cops being bastards, some of the the ecosystem around Yakuza though is so much more dense than any of these other games out there. It's like trying to be GTA, but it's doing it in all of the right ways.
It makes it the moment I said Kunio, I was like, oh shit, this really is just like River City. Yakuza really does just go with River City Ransom stuff, huh?
Right, yeah. It has the sim element of it, but it also has the game itself, and then the games within the games, and then the people as the characters that you're going to remember because they're bright and colorful, and your world is bright and colorful because it's an RPG that's alive and breathing, and oh my god, it's such a mashup.
And even in the original Yakuza games, the beat 'em up stuff is still random encounters where you don't you wander around the overworld doing whatever you want, and then enemies will spot you and come after you and start a fight.
Right.
Where it's so you're not just shooting at it's not just like GTA, because GTA is a lot more just you can do something and cause things to happen, but in this it's just there's random encounters at all times that you take on, and it is fun as fuck. I can't wait to play more and get lost in the sub stories because dear God, the build up to the dating app minigame takes so goddamn long. There's so much dialogue. And it was can we get to the rest? I get there's a lot of funny stuff happening with Kasuga being a dumbass virgin, but come on. I mean, I would like to go to bed soon.
Part of the appeal is that there is so much stuff going on here. Even your friends are telling you stories about what's going on in the world. One of those stories involves a kid in a dragon jacket of some kind, and oh my god, this is just... What
that reference is from is that you get podcasts to listen to on your phone. So
how fucking meta can we go here?
Yeah, they introduced a radio system where you can listen to the songs you have collected, or even podcasts that you eventually find out about. and get added to your list. And they introduce more episodes as the story goes on.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like the first one you unlock is this Japanese only one, so you can't understand it unless you speak Japanese.
Right.
So that's
You also have the music, but the podcasts.
I can listen to Friday. I can listen to Friday night whenever I want to.
Music player, gonna get down in the. I really
Just have that playing all the time until I get into a fight, and then it continues playing when I leave the fight.
Yes. Thank you for listening to this episode. We are hosted on mask31.dev/the-Reddmasq-podcast. You can also find us on Pocket Casts and wherever great podcasts are found.